Basketball Weekly on the Gruely Crew Sports Network. The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host for the weekly show, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I want to welcome my co-host, former Indiana basketball player, 1981 national champion, Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame member, loser to Aurora High School in the 1977 semi-state, Steve Risley. How you doing tonight, Steve?
I'm doing wonderful. Just absolutely peach king. Thank you for that eloquent reminder of the game where Aurora and Tim Johnson just ended my biggest dream of all time, was to be the single-class state champion in the state of Indiana.
Well,
old Timmy's living life large these days.
Well, too bad Timmy wasn't the one taking that final drive at the end of the first half or second half. But we had the Indiana Hoosiers tonight, as they so often do against a ranked team. Basically crap their pants at the start of the second half, and when they had a chance to win the game at the end, in regulation, they lose to Ohio State 80-78 to finish the season 16-14. Probably go in as a 7 or 8 seed into the Big Ten tournament. Steve, this was just kind of more of the same.
It's from the Department of Redundancy Department, I think, as they would say. It's pretty much a carbon copy of the Big Ten losses that we've had. It's the same MO. We looked at statistically, if you look at the stats, we pretty well balanced out with them. They out-rebounded us by 6. Turnovers were pretty even. Shooting percentages were pretty close. There was no real glaring standout in the stats of the game. So I chalked this one up to the same things we've talked about. Poor perimeter defense, still lacking defense where we need to be, an atrocious start to the second half, which I think we missed our first 7 shots, and just didn't take the opportunity to bury him. And I ain't even going to say this game, for the first time, I questioned some coaching decisions that were made. And in particular, I'm just going to say, where did Devontae Green go? Is this maybe he had a bad week of practice or something? I don't know, but you've got an offense and a lineup that's clicking and doing well, and they're meshing well, and if somebody falls off a little bit, hopefully somebody in that lineup picks it up. But to make a cold-hearted change like they did and give Devontae just 16 minutes of the game and to give Newkirk 36 minutes of the game, who hasn't seen a lot of minutes and hasn't seen many productive minutes in the latter part of the Big Ten season, all of a sudden go to him. I don't know if it's a senior night thing. It was a gut feeling with Coach Miller or what, but it just, it altered their chemistry enough. I think in the stretch, in the end, when I thought Indiana was playing with good confidence toward the end, they looked unconfident again. I mean, 16 seconds ago on the first overtime, they go to a 1-4 type offense, and you could see right away the minute they came out, it was just going to be a clear out for Robert Johnson. Johnson makes a penetration move. I don't think he even looked to see where the other 4 players on the court were. At that point in time, you take the ball into your leading scorer, your big man, you take him to the hole, and I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times he's going to get a foul called on his way and going to put him on the free throw line. And, we don't do that. So all in all, it's kind of a repeat. And it's just kind of the way this whole season has gone. It's just chalk it up on chemistry, new team, new coach, new system. I don't know. What do you think? What are you seeing that I'm missing?
I think this. We're 30 games in, so the new team thing doesn't hold water anymore.
You have to look at Ohio State and say that, because they've got a brand new coach as well too.
Yeah,
who really hasn't accomplished everything that Coach Miller's coached, accomplished at Dayton, getting his teams into the dance 6 years in a row, getting him to the Elite Eight, and really, while Butler remained a top-tiered team in a very difficult conference, he didn't accomplish. Chris didn't accomplish at Butler what.
But this is the thing. This is the thing. I think you just said the key right here. All right. Butler didn't make it to an Elite Eight under Holtman, But what Holtman did have is he played in an elite conference that's probably even better than a Big Ten.
Right.
So he's coached at that level before. I mean, he's playing against, Villanova, which is probably the best program of the last 5 or 6 years. Xavier, which is a top 10 program over the last decade. Even teams like Seton Hall, Providence.
Right.
And I know I'm missing places.
Georgetown.
Georgetown. I mean, Syracuse moved out of there a few years ago. But the point is, he's done the night in and night out coaching at this kind of level. And the thing that I see with him, and it may just be that the guys Crean had here aren't the kind of guys you could win with. But what I see from this team is when you watch in a huddle, because I know they showed on what it was, Fox Sports or whatever the game was on, they show him in the huddle. And his players are all sitting around him intently looking at him and responding to what he says. When you look at Indiana, they're usually standing around Archie Miller, and you see Robert Johnson looking this way. You see Josh Newkirk looking this way. You see Morgan McSwain making eye contact and acting like the Ohio State players. But we've got a few guys here that I don't think have ever bought totally in to what Coach Miller is doing. I don't understand why he didn't just replace them with guys that we're doing the job like, Durham, not Newkirk, but, who the hell am I forgetting? Devontae Green.
And
I mean, let's face it, senior night or not, you should have to earn your playing time. And if you want Newkirk to start and then pull him out after a minute, I'm fine with that. But Devontae Green deserved to play. I mean, he has played great over the last month. He is your future. So if you're playing the 16th ranked team in the country on national TV on a Friday night, his ass should be in the game, if nothing else, just for the experience of being in that game.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Again, I don't want to get into bashing Miller at this point in time, but I do question some of the things that went on. I mean, I was just asking the question, what was your thought process, and see what he comes up with. I mean, I don't know.
Steve, I don't know. It's not bashing; it's the truth. I mean, you could watch it and see it. I still think Archie Miller's the right guy for this program. I think he's going to turn it around when he's got his players. But at some point, I don't see why you allow people to continually make the same mistakes and keep playing them while other guys may have a bad game and you sit their ass for the next 40 minutes. It makes no sense to me. I'm not questioning whether he's a good coach or not. I think that he was put in a really tough situation with this team. You got 3 seniors that play a fair amount. And let's face it, Robert Johnson should not be the guy taking a clear out on the last shot. That should be thrown to Juwan Morgan. Morgan either makes a move to the basket or they slump off of him. Maybe he gets Johnson an open 15-footer to win the game. But you got to go through your best player. And you got to have your 5 best players on the court.
Yeah, and you got to give the ball up. I mean, you got to run some kind of play with 16 seconds to go. You can't just clear it out, 4 guys stand on the baseline and that works in the NBA. But that college defenses are too sophisticated just to try and go 1-on-4 or 1-on-5.
Well, it'll work if Isaiah Thomas is that guard, but Robert Johnson's not Isaiah Thomas.
And I don't even know that it would work 50% of the time with Isaiah. I mean, it's just too easy to guard when guys. You can see the look on his face. The ball was not going to be given up. I said the minute it was thrown into him, that's it. I mean, when the players cleared out, I said he ain't giving the rock up. He's going with it. So. But he hits a shot, he's a hero. So that's my whole feeling on all that. But in terms of, I think this team I believe that this team still underachieved this year. I don't think that they're a contender for any type of Elite Eight or anything like that. But I thought they were quality enough, the basketball club. If they got their mindset to it, they could make the dance. I thought they played good enough, often enough. They just couldn't close it out. They couldn't close anything out. At the end, you give the kid from Ohio State basically a wide-open 25-foot three-pointer. He takes enough time to step back, and there's Newkirk, 7-8 feet off of him, jumping up in the air, and you just can't. You don't want to foul, obviously, but you don't want to give anybody a clean shot from that kind of range too, because they shot 33%. It means 1 out of 3 of them is going to go in, and guess what? They got the 1 of the 3 that went in. And it's just little things fundamentally. The other thing he said, and I did notice this at this timeout, I said this to my wife as we were watching the game. There's an awful lot of guys standing around here in suits and with clipboards in their hands. I mean, do these guys know who to listen to? There were like maybe 4 people that had, now we had managers that all had clipboards in their hands when I was there. That's because when Knight broke one, there was
somebody
there was
had to get him
one to him real quick. Yeah, when he broke one over my head or somebody's head, it's like handing him another one. But there was never any writing on any of them except one. And I look in the huddle, and there's like 4 clipboards that all have writing on it. So, but that's just the coaching style, I guess. I mean, it's we don't have enough experience with Miller to really shred him apart in terms of what he's doing. But I felt that we didn't get the things done last game, and I put some onus on the coaches. And we come back again, and this whole first 5 minutes of the second half thing just tears me to shreds. I mean, you're playing for something. You're playing for a win against a quality team. You get that on your resume. Maybe that allows you to, if you get to the championship game and lose it, maybe then you can still get a bid because they just beat Ohio State. You got a chance to take Ohio State out of winning the Big Ten. If you don't have enough to play for and want to come out and want to just be awake and be aggressive at the start of the second half, play in front of your own fans, you're playing for your seniors. I can't think of one reason to not just be so hyped to come out and want to just dominate the second half. And this 2 games in a row now where we basically gave the game away or didn't capitalize on an opportunity to start in the second half. And I thought the personnel decisions were, not of the highest caliber. I do want to give a big shout out to McRoberts. I thought he played his heart out. He was all over the court today. I mean,
hit a huge 3 too in the corner.
Yeah, a huge 3. Just when the IU couldn't hit the brush of a barn, he steps up and drills a big 3. And, there's a kid that Knight would have loved to have had on his team. Just a kid that he left his heart and soul and everything on that court. And he played if 2 other guys in that team played like he played, we'd probably be talking about, hey, we still have this chance, to get in the dance. But I do want to single him out because I just think that he's just really come a far distance this season. And he was, to me, the one really bright spot. I liked Juwan. I thought Juwan didn't have his best stuff tonight, got in foul trouble. But he still muscled through 18 points. And when we got a quality player that's not having a great night and still give you 18 good solid points inside, when he's the only inside presence we have, it shows you what a quality player he is.
Well, I think Justin Smith played well, too.
Yeah, and Justin did. And really, there wasn't a lot of screw-up by Robert Johnson either.
No, he played a good game.
Pretty well.
Just
he played a good game.
At the biggest points, he didn't make the play.
He didn't make the play, and I think he chose bad plays.
Yeah.
I think that it was a bad choice to not give the ball up at the end there and try and get other players actively involved in it. But statistically, we matched them. And again, that's what's so frustrating is that we have pretty well matched, closely all the top tier teams in the league. We haven't really gotten game time blown out entirely by really anybody. We ended up losing big because, the game turned into a runaway in the last 2 minutes of the ball game. I get that, but other than that, we've been in the hunt. We just needed a couple breaks. We need to create our own breaks, and I don't think we need to say breaks go our way. We just didn't create our own breaks enough times.
Yeah.
So
and
now what you're looking at is because we lost, I think you can talk more to this, where we look like we're going to fit out in the seedings for the Big Ten tournament. What do you got with that?
It looks like it's probably going to be Wisconsin or Northwestern first up, which
I'd much rather play Wisconsin than Northwestern.
Even though Wisconsin beat us by 10 at Wisconsin. The other thing I was going to bring up to you was on Twitter. They showed a picture, I don't know if you saw it or not, at the Indiana student section, and the same picture floated during Illinois where there's 7,800 student tickets, and it looked like 7,000 empty seats up at the top of the bowl there. And I just want your opinion on it.
I don't know what to make of that. I don't know if that's empathy, lack of empathy. Yeah,
apathy.
I think it is. Apathy. There you go.
See, there's the difference between Indiana and Indiana State educationally.
Yeah, I know. Affect and effect. I get it. It's apathy. There's just apathy on the part of the fans because of the continued outcomes, or there's just other fun things to do in Bloomington tonight. I don't know, but I did notice that they made a point to talk that out because they were talking, all during the game. The announcers were about 17,000 people packed in here for senior night, and then I look up and see that on Twitter, and I'm like, dude, who's doing your math? Who's keeping your stats? Because there's 8,000 seats available right there on a 17,000 seat stadium. So you got maybe 10 or 11, 12,000 fans there. I get the fact that up in the balcony, most of those people are hidden anyway, and you don't know they're there. But so I don't know. There's nothing wrong with Indiana. There's just not enough right. We're not in the situation we were with Crean. When Crean was there toward the latter half of his career, there were things wrong that he just couldn't fix. And, but I don't want to say there's anything really wrong because I think the team showed flashes of brilliance this year. They just consistently couldn't do it for 40 minutes. They couldn't keep it all together. And they couldn't close the deal. Most of the time, they just could not close it against a team that's a little outmatched by them. And so we kind of expected that at the beginning of the year. We kind of got a taste of it early. And it just bore out for us. And maybe that's just the MO of this basketball team. And, we go to the tournament. We try and do as much collateral damage as we can. And then I think you're looking at an NIT bid, and I certainly hope that we take the NIT bid should we get one, because it's doing nothing but giving kids minutes and playing time, for next year. But relevance to recruiting, it does not help you if you're not playing in March. It's not a benefit to you that when your name's not being mentioned, your program's not being mentioned, either by the FBI, the NCAA, or Channel 8 or CBS.
Well, that's actually a good thing now, right? Because
now you can let by the FBI.
Yeah, now you can let all these places kind of fall off, and then all of a sudden, maybe we're a top 20 program again.
Well, that's looks like Arizona's in deep doggy doo-doo. I just got breaking news that the FBI wiretaps intercepted Sean Miller and Christian Dawkins discussing a payment of $100,000 to ensure star freshman DeAndre Ayton signs with Arizona. I would say Arizona's going to have a new basketball coach tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would think that's pretty well going to be looking for an interim coach to coach the Pac-12 tournament. And, but those rocks are going to start falling.
Yeah.
Sooner than later.
It's hard telling what happens with that and what programs are taken down, because what I read the other day was there was like 32 Division I programs, and from what I read, most of them were high profile that are caught up in all this.
Well, they've talked about, they've got Calipari, they've got Roy Williams. Somebody said they mentioned Duke and Krzyzewski. That's a whole other show we can do, because we want to wind up with Indiana. But, to me, that's a byproduct of the NCAA kind of keeping its eyes closed and everything, because they're profiting up all this stuff too. And that's a whole other show that we need to have. We want to have that show.
Oh, that's like a 20-part show.
Yeah, well, not really. It's really not that complicated. I think the answer to that and the whole stuff is, let's face it, the bulk of kids that are playing college basketball really aren't there to get a college degree. They're there to play basketball. There are a handful, there are a percentage that go there to get a college degree, and they take advantage of the opportunity to get a scholarship to get it paid for. But for the bulk of them, they're there to go play 4 more years of basketball and organize. I've often been an advocate of, why don't we just make these basketball players employees of the university? And as part of their compensation, they live by the rules bound by all teachers and employees of the university. They live by that same set of rules. as part of their compensation package for being a player, they get their college education paid for. You know, it takes a lot of this stuff out of people's hands if the players just get paid.
Well, and you got to pay them because of how much money the colleges are making off of them.
Right, and that's the other part too. When I played, the cost of my scholarship was probably pretty well a fair trade-off for the amount of money the university was bringing into the athletic department. But today, with the TV contracts, the shoe contracts, the coaching, you know, the coaches' camps in the summer, universities are just making so much money that it remains to be seen. And again, I don't want to divulge off the closing out here about Indiana, but you know, we probably should have a show on all that and you know, get some feedback on everybody's thoughts on that. But I think stuff's going to start hitting the fan on that mess here pretty quickly. I think the NCAA would like to postpone messing with it until after the tournament, just because it's going to cost the NCAA money if you start taking programs like Arizona out of the mix. And, you know, there's all this concern about who is and isn't going to be in it and what's going to happen here. You know, the FBI has no interest in this other than the fact that they're pursuing tax evasion, tax fraud. They could care less about what kind of cheating goes on in college basketball. And that's a civil offense versus a criminal offense, which is tax evasion. So I think that's where the FBI is looking at it from what I understand. But anyway, closing out Indiana. I'm disappointed again. I thought the kids showed heart. We just made a couple mental errors. We got off to a slow start. It's the same thing we talked about all season long. Once we got into the Big Ten season, and we are where we are. We're 500 in the Big Ten. 9-9? I think we finished up.
Yeah, we're a 500 team.
Yeah, we're a 500 team all across the board. Yeah, 15-14 or 16-14 and 9-9. Yeah. That's not going to get you in a postseason tournament of the one we want to be in. So. You know, there's still hope. It's like Jim Carrey asked Janine Turner in Dumb and Dumber, what's the chances of a guy like me going out with a girl like you, 1 in a million? So you're saying I got a chance.
I figured you'd like that movie.
I love that movie. I saw the motorcycle, the little mini bike they used, just sold for $50,000, believe it or not.
Did you buy it?
They used. No, I didn't buy it. I didn't get that $100,000 guaranteed to go to IU, unfortunately. So, you know, we now get on the recruiting trail. We finish up the season. Certainly now should be an experimental time for Indiana. And hopefully most all the attention and effort is put toward next year now. Creating lineups that he's going to deal with next year, taking a look at players that he maybe hasn't given a lot of looks to. And you don't want to just totally throw your seniors sideways, but you know, you've got to say, I got a plan on next year, and hopefully we get an invite to the NIT, and hopefully we accept it, and hopefully we do some damage in the NIT, and put this thing to bed for the summer with a good mindset. Get some recruits that we need. Start building the cultural foundation that Miller wants to have in Indiana basketball. And when we chalk this up as the transition season, and we don't see another one like this for a long time, if ever.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't really have anything else to add.
All right.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, there's nothing else we can say. We're beating a dead horse.
All right. That horse has been dead
now,
for a while.
I do think let's do this. Why don't we have a show Monday night? And kind of once we get the lineup set, Big Ten tournament, let's just have a preview show. So I think Indiana will play on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's
so. I think by Sunday all the games will have been played. Purdue, Michigan State. I think was this Ohio State's last game tonight? Yeah. So they need to win, and I think they need Michigan State to lose now.
Yeah.
To share the Big Ten with Michigan State, because Michigan State's only got 2 losses in the Big Ten. And so let's just plan on maybe doing a show Monday night for everybody and putting our 2 cents worth in about what the draw looks like for us and what we think that would need to be done for Indiana to make a strong run in the tournament. You know, you get to the championship game, you never know what can happen. But until we see the pathway to the championship game, which isn't going to be easy anyway, you look at it, we haven't beat any of the teams ahead of us.
No.
Well, we haven't beat any of them, I don't think, have we?
Penn State.
Okay, Penn State's the only one we beat.
But
Other
that's
than that,
before Penn State went on their run, so Penn State's not the same team as when
we caught them while they were developing. Exactly. So let's plan on a show Monday night. Everybody wants to jump in and listen. We'll tweet it out, reminder to everybody, and I'm sure you'll put it up on the webpage, Grilling Truth, and see if we get some people want to call in and ask any questions. That would be a good time to do it. And tweet or text, kind of wrap up the season a little bit here, and see what fun things we can do from here on out, and begin to prepare for talking about Indiana basketball in 2018-19.
All right, Steve, and if anybody wants to ask Steve or myself any questions, you can tweet to @GrulingHoops, or you can tweet to @GrulingTruth. You can download the app on iTunes to hear all of the Grueling Truth shows. You go to grulingtruth.net for all the articles. Basketball, baseball, football, boxing, MMA, NASCAR, just about anything you want outside of soccer is there, which we may add at some point if I have to. So make sure you keep an eye out there for everything Grueling Truth-wise. You can hear all of our shows on iHeart, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find the Grueling Truth. So for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to the Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.